All right, so it seems some of you, at least maybe a few friends, the two friends that I have on planet Earth, are actually interested in my flow. Basically, not necessarily the whole recording process of how I do it, but just the flow, just what I work with, what I do, what I find is easy. Um, I am not the kind of person that wants to YouTube their life. As you can clearly hear from my voice, I'm not English. I'm French Canadian. But I do fucking love music. That's for sure. And you'll find out pretty quick. I'm super direct and open, so I'm gonna say stupid stuff. Don't take it against me. I'm a passionate person. That's how I am. Um, So as you can see, if you find this too long or boring, just tell me. It's fine. I am not a sensitive person, um, but I respect people that are. I'll just go through, and the video will last whatever how long it lasts. I don't really care what people think of the music I make. I'm more about sharing the knowledge than anything. So I'm just trying this setup here. I'm using OBS. I'm going to keep stuff simple. The audio coming out of Logic Pro most probably will be very basic. It's not grand. YouTube, anyways, destroys audio quality, even if you go at it at super top quality when you encode. Either way, I'm not going to use my mouse because if I do, it does the clicky sound. I'm just using my MacBook microphone. Probably, if you guys are interested, I'll plug in one of my mics. I got a few lying around. So, anyways, here it is. As you can see clearly on the screen, I'm using Logic. I always try to keep it up to date as much as possible. Fantastically, I've upgraded to Sequoia, the latest upgrade, and things seems to be working pretty decent for now. Most plugins are right. I don't know. Sometimes you can hit a bit of latency in there. So Logic for me works. You could be doing this with any other type of software. I'm not into the top 10 and what you should be using and what's best. I profoundly do not believe in that. I think we should be continuously using the stuff that works for us. So whatever works for you, whatever sound card, I'll go through my flow. Maybe it's going to be a bit more in detail right now. And if this is not interesting for you, fantastic. Close the window. I'm not looking for followers. I'm just sharing the knowledge. What I'm currently using right now is UAD stuff. It's a UAD Apollo. It just works. For me, it's simple. The Apollo was a sound card, I think, available a few years ago. Like, I think I bought mine 6, 7 years ago. It's Thunderbolt. I plug it directly on my Mac. There's a bunch of plugins that you can put. So when you're plugging your guitar, your bass, drums, or any other mic to it, you can apply effects. Sounds great. Just it does what it does. It's simple. Drivers sometimes can be an issues, but I mean, all in all, it's super easy. So everything you see here was recorded using this input source, all the audio, the UAD audio. No, not the Apollo. It's the UAD audio Arrow. I'm looking at it right now. Sorry, guys. This is not extremely planned. I'm just going through it. So yeah, as you can see for the drums, I've taken the reason why I've taken the Opeth Style Backing Track that I put on my channel. It's simply because it's in the top views. So I figure might as well use something that people seem to be interested by. So again, I think it has 10,000 views, whatever. It's nothing fantastic, but it does what it does. Fun fact, or just so that you guys are aware, I don't consider myself a musician. I'm just passionate about music. I collect a few instruments. I got a few things here, a few guitars, basses. bunch of pedals, wires. I've been playing music for like close to 40 years, as you can see, with the white beard. I'm 50. Well, I'm going to be 50 in November. That's pretty freaking nuts. If you would have told me 25 years ago that one day I would be 50, I would have laughed at you. But hey, welcome to life. So for the drums, I can play a bit of drums, but even if I was a good drummer, just the whole setup of miking and everything, when you just want to create content, I highly recommend just using the built-in virtual drummer. Like you can add a track in Logic Pro. You can, oh, I'm going to select a drummer and you can take the roles you want and have some fun. Personally, I enjoy the Easy Drummer library. I think on this one, I was using Easy Drummer, like the base version of Tune Track. That's the company that makes the software. And I think since then, a few years back, I went with Superior Drummer. There's just additional sounds, more control. The drums are a bit more realistic. But even with Easy Drummer, if somebody wants to spend, I don't know, it's around $100 or something, you can check it out on the website. I'm not into all these details. But either way, so if we single out that track, it's not an audio video per se. So the audio you're going to be listening is just straight out of OBS. There's nothing special here. So I'm going to try not speaking too much while it plays. I know it can get a bit annoying, but it absolutely sounds great. You can do really whatever you want. On this, if I go to the region details, oh yeah, you see on this one I'm using Superior Drummer. And maybe a few of the sounds of the libraries I'm using are from Easy Drummer. As I upgraded, I have both libraries. And I'm probably just using a little EQing on this. So here's a great point. So you'll see in my setups, I use Fab Filters plugins. I only use the Fab Filter Pro Q3, the EQ from Fab Filter. They have a bunch of other ones, compressors, so on. I just like the way it works. I'm used to it. You'll find that as you go on your musical journey, you're just going to start using stuff that works for you. I'm not a big fan of, oh, what are the top plugins? There's no bad or good plugin per se. It's whatever works for you. So you don't need Pro Q. If I want to have the same type of IQ, I could be using the basic IQ here found in Logic or whatever other DAW you're going to be using, and that's fine. Again, what we're looking for when you're more a creator like I am. So I'm not a musician. I'm a riff maker. That's why I enjoy doing. I give riffs to friends, colleagues, whatever. Sometimes people need a bit of music for a little video or something. I'm just going to make it for them. I really enjoy it. So whatever works for you. It could be the Logic Drummer. I'm using Pro Q3, and I'm just going to lay a few tracks down, see what fits with the riff. I most usually start, it's funny, either I'm going to start with a guitar, with guitars, some kind of riff, or I'm going to start with a drum. Strangely, I'm going to hear a drum beat and just go, oh man, I got this riff in my head. And I think for this one, it was just guitars. I had a riff. So as I wanted to create a backing track that sounds a bit like Opeth. If you don't know Opeth, oh my God. If you enjoy metal in any type of form, I've seen him live, I think once or twice, many years ago, in Montreal where I live. Great band. Heavy riffs, complex, offbeats, really, really great. So I said, I might as well open up with some, I'm going to remove the single track here. So I just found a riff, a kind of melody that was going, and upon that I built the song. The intro here is a standard acoustic guitar. Like if we single it loud, and you'll see I don't on that. I think this is one of my old acoustic guitars. Anyways, again, as you'll see, I got basic EQing. I'm gonna remove some of the yeah, some of the hertz I'm not really appreciating. I'm not gonna go deep down. Maybe if you guys are interested by this type of content, I can go down into it. I'm not the best teacher out there. I share. I really don't consider myself super good at teaching whatever. But again, just use whatever works for you. You can keep it super simple. So here, to give a bit of texture, a bit of roundness to the sound, I most usually double track guitars. So here I'm gonna pan left, I'm gonna pan right. Again, super simple. My when you create music, if you're like me, or do whatever you want to do, just create. Okay, you want a decent guitar sound, pan right or left. Don't think too much about, oh, should I be panning 40%, 50%? Just pan right left, double up the guitar, play it a few times. You'll see here that I did a single take on these, but it doesn't have to be a single take. If you feel that the beginning works, it works, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. You keep the rest and you redo. Don't be afraid. Don't be one of those people that say, oh, if I don't single track the whole song, I'm not a real musician. You would be surprised. I've seen a few pro tracks, if I can say, and there's going to be cuts and cuts and cuts and cuts right and left. So don't be afraid. Keep it simple. Have fun. Record. Always keep it super easy. Keep it fun. I've also have bass here. So what I like doing sometimes, here's a trick that I found through the years. Some sections, if I didn't plan for them per se, I'm just going to use. I think this is easy bass, again from Tune Track. This is just no. This is just the sampler, simple bass, synthetic bass, or computer bass, whatever, computer based bass. Anyway, sounds really really good when you mix it with acoustic. It's very stable. It's very same thing here. I added a bit of piano. If you go further, it doesn't need to be complicated. Again, if you put those together, as I'm more of a guitar player, that's where I'm going to put more of my energy, most of my energy, not all, but most of it. But it's cool, it's fun, and it does the job really good. And here I've got another acoustic backing track. So you got that ongoing riff. And if we had the lead on that, and you just do your thing. Just do your thing as long as it works. So that's for the beginning. I'm mixing here the acoustic guitars. Eventually, there's going to be electrics here that are going to join in. And then from drum to bass, this is a bass that I recorded again, plugged in straight into my Arrow UAD. A bit of EQing, a bit of compression, as you'll see. So if we take a look at the EQ, I'm just keeping what I want at the bass. I don't need all the top end. Too much bottom end is bad. You want to leave that room to the bottom of the drum. So this is not a mixing class, but there's basic stuff that are fun to know. An easy mix here. What did I use? Oh, Cake on Cake. Yeah, it's a Cake on Cake, an Easy Mix 2. Great plugins, by the way, again, when you want to go quick with sounds. If we take a look at the bass, I'm just going to single that out. And if I remove the Easy Mix, when I record bass, it's practically DI level, so it's just line level. It's really the bass is plugged into the sound card. I'm gonna play my bass. I think this is my Ernie Ball 5 string, if I'm not mistaken. Great all around bass, 5 strings. It's easy to play drop D, so on and so forth. Super simple to play. But I always, on heavier riffs, I highly recommend that you add a bit of distortion to your bass. So let's say we put the drum, let's hear it without. It's okay, but it's missing a little something. And then when we add the distortion, it suddenly becomes very, very round. So let's add a few guitars on that. Distortion is one of the most important tools. You'll hear a lot of people talk about EQing. You'll hear a bunch of people, oh, the compressor is everything. From my perspective, distortion is the greatest underutilized tool ever, whether it's on drums, whether it's on bass. Never forget that sound is by default a certain level of distortion. It doesn't, sound is not about, oh, I'm gonna hit that specific point in hertz. No, it's a mix and match of different hertz levels. So essentially you're distorting the waves. That's how sound is created. So when you understand how to play with distortion, you can really add richness. That's why when you look at a lot of compressors, like let's take an example. I usually take the compressors that just come with Logic. They're absolutely perfect. You'll see right here the distortion module, if you want. So I'm always gonna have a bit of distortion on my compressors, always. It gives it a bit of richness. It gives it that tape saturation style, that more old school style that we used to hear for so many decades, and that just makes it less synthetic, more natural. I really appreciate that. So yeah, get the basics about compressors and EQing for sure. But when you start adding distortion at the right moment, at the right place, or on the right instrument at the right time, shit, it really, really works. So this is, the basic. The drum keeps going for the song. Of course, the bass follows. So I've got, and you can see here, as I was talking earlier, I don't mind making cuts when I record. Don't make it a personal battle. It's more important to record than to how you're gonna record. Just record what you can. It's gonna be fine. Nobody gives a flying fuck if you record correctly or not. If it sounds great, the riff is good to you, or it's good for your client, whatever you're doing, fine. I don't mind. Look, I have a bunch of cuts here because sometimes you play better, sometimes the strings go bad, or whatever it is. It's not like the synthetic drum you get with Superior Drummer or Easy Drummer that's always on point with the perfect, the rim shots are just like tat tat tat. It's insane. But yeah, you get the picture. So I'm gonna close that acoustic because the whole start of the song, if you want to listen to it, it's Opeth Style Backing Track. I did that back in July 2020, I guess, during the pandemic. So let me just resize this. And then if we go to the main riff, I pretty much did the single regions for the drum, and so I'm gonna, as Opeth always does, there's this kind of like little bridge, this moment in the song that like calms down and just punches you in the face after. And that's a bit what I did right here. So if you listen to the drum and then we go in with the guitars. So here I did a bit more layering to the people out there, and if you're listening to this, you're probably already aware. People just don't, musicians just don't record one guitar. Yay, we're done. There will be not only multiple takes, that's for sure, but multiple takes, multiple tracks. I've heard a few stories on very well-known bands that they're going to have 8, 10, 12, 14 guitars tracked. So that's why when you hear about like 64 tracks and 128 tracks and so on, or 200, if you go virtual especially, you can have 200 tracks. It is insane the number of tracks you're going to find. A little tweak here, a little tweak there. These are pan, right and left. Oh, it's going to be half pan, a third pan. I'm going to put it in the middle when the singer stops singing. Play around. That's all I can say. So here, the first two guitars. Let me just hit that. And you can see that in the guitars there, I never put a lot of bass. I try to keep bass at a minimum. So here, usually the first thing I'm going to do, either I'm going to cut or compress. Again, some people are going to tell you, you need to EQ before compressing. You need to use the compressor first. Just do whatever works for you and make it work. The important thing is how it sounds to you and to others, depending on who you're doing it for yourself. Stop focusing on what should go where. Listen with your ears. Stop looking at videos telling you how it should be done. Look at videos that tell you, hey, maybe you should be using this, maybe you should be using that. And that's how I've been working for years. I started like with friends using 4 tracks and field recorders. Then a buddy of ours had a small studio, so we played around there. Now we're all doing this on our computers basically. And it just, by accident or whatever, because I like it a bit better. I'm on a Mac, but you could be on Windows, you could be on Linux, you could be using any type of DAW that you want to use. This is fundamental. Stop listening to people saying that you have to do things a certain way. Creation is the most important thing. So whether you want to create YouTube videos, play music, whatever it is that you want to do, man, if you guys want to talk about life, put it into the comments. I'll put something in there if it's interesting with you. But don't be afraid to stack. I'm gonna stack a bunch of things, and you know what? On some of those takes, yeah, I'm gonna normalize the audio. That every DAW has this. You have functions that are gonna normalize the regions, whether it's for time, for gain. So it can be seen as an auto tune basically for different instruments. And here I've put 4. I wanted to bring a bit of weight. One thing though, so once you recorded, you can see here I've got a few takes. Some I went through the whole way. Other times I probably redid this take. Sometimes I redo takes because of sound issues. Sometimes it's timing issues, or I'm going to change a little something on the riff. But it is what it is. One thing, especially for this song, when you start having multiple instruments at the same time, you don't want to pan everything right, left, center. So in this case, I've got 4 guitars. I'm going to pan one on the left, let's say the other one on the right. And if I want to add a bit of girth to the sound, I want to add a bit of heaviness or a bit more trebly guitar, or a little difference in the riff, like octave differences, lower octave, higher octave on another guitar. I'm just going to pan them a little bit less, and you want to use the space that you have. Your ears can't listen to everything at the same place. So usually, like, the singer is going to be more in the center position, like the bass drum and bass components, drums that are going to mostly play at the center of the sound spectrum. And you can have visualizers of the sound spectrum. So I think I have one here. Oh, that could be another video, but anyways, tell me if it's interesting for you. Don't pan everything right, left. If you're going with two, four, six, even eight guitars, I know a very good band known around the world for decades. I think they have 12 guitars, like six on each sides, different pannings and so on. So when you're trying alone in your room to play the song, like, Jesus Christ, I got a great amp or pedals or whatever, and it just never sounds like them. Don't worry, nobody sounds like that when they play with a single guitar. You're gonna need to layer that shit forever until it sounds that way. And they'll have a mezzo boogie on the left and they'll have a Fender on the right, or the drummer's gonna do double, triple, quad tracks of the same drum tracks. Just like decades ago when I saw BB King, he had two drummers. So one was playing more basic beats, and the other one was playing rounder beats, like more smaller toms and bells. So they were playing together to make this huge sound. That's what bands do, guys. Don't worry if your first recordings are not great, or when you're alone with an amp, a bass, or a drum, and it doesn't have that monster sound. Synthetic, naturally, it's practically impossible. You need to go synthetic. What I mean by synthetic is that eventually you're going to need to bring this in some kind of DAW recording system and add compression, distortion, reverbs, and so on. And don't be afraid to play around. Like for this guitar, if let me just put it in the middle. I'll just remove the pan. Let me just grab this section here. I'm just going to loop this for a moment. So for this specific riff, I'm using, well, it's saying fluff, long story, but I'm using Archetype Nolly. Archetype Nolly for me, I'm not saying for everybody, but for me, it's by far my number one. I feel it's by far the best guitar plugin. Why? Because it's one thing and it just does a little bit of everything fantastically. 4 amps, the speakers. I'm not going to go through this. If you want to get detailed information on what neural DSP is, there's a bunch. I don't want to be that guy, but that's what I use. And when I go there in these plugins, I'm not afraid, even on metal guitar, maybe add a bit of reverb, some delay. I'm going to add a bit of compression overdrive here. As you can see, that's my style usually. I use very, very little things in sound. I try to keep it as natural as possible. Now here, that's just it. I'm not doing anything else. Then on the tracks that I'm putting together, so this is basically the stack. So if you want all of these tracks here essentially compiled to this one. So I'll do a bit of compression, a bit of EQ, and every time, pretty much everybody does this, depending on your style, but I'm going to remove some bass, remove some of the low mids. In this specific case, the guitar was super bright. I don't remember which one I used on this one. And I'm going to tap a little bit of the highs. So the mid and the not so mid highs, I wanted to tame them down. You're going to have to do a bit of EQing sometimes. Why? Because your strings aren't that super fresh, or they're absolutely new and they crazy resonate in the recording. It's very hard to know. Be aware that when you're recording, and most of you probably know this if you're looking at this, the temperature of when you're recording, the humidity of when you're recording, if you're using a bass, a guitar, and a drum, they're going to be influenced by this. So you have to be aware that the drum on Wednesday may not sound exactly like the drum on Thursday just because the temperature changed, or there's more humidity, and there's going to be compression or dilation. I'm not even sure that word exists. Fuck it, who cares? Dilation. The instrument or the wood gets a little bit bigger, and that's going to affect your sound, the tuning, so on and so forth. So when you're trying to record a track, I highly recommend that either by instrument or groups or sections of the song, that you try to make it within the same time frame. We've all heard of artists, oh, I had tracks from 18 years ago and everything. A lot of times these projects don't go so well, simply because they're not able to have that sound again. They don't remember, they didn't take notes or whatever, or the drum changed, the bassist, it's not the same person, it's another instrument. It's just changes. So try to do it within the window. Usually when I start playing a song, the basic riffs and the ideas I'm pretty much going to do within a few minutes, or maybe not a minute, but you know what I mean, in a few minutes, an hour and a half. I don't believe that laying foundational tracks should take you 8 days. If that's the case, maybe your riff or your idea is not that great. Maybe you should forget about it, or just record something with it, leave it on the side and come back to it later. I really believe that in the moment of creativity, you have to dig into that moment. So yeah, sometimes I've said to friends, listen, I'm gonna meet you guys later because I'm gonna track this, even if I do it for fun. For me, it's a deep passion. That's what I do. So I do it in time. So I keep the 4 tracks all the way down. Of course, the structure of the song that you're seeing right here is super simple. The whole idea of this was just a backing track. So you can see that it repeats. The goal was to have it as a backing track. Let me just repan this on the left. Hey, I'm sorry if the sound isn't that great over YouTube, but it is what it is. And so yeah, if you want to hear the song, it's right there on my channel. I'm not gonna ask you to click here and sub to that. I'm just looking to share information, and I think I went pretty much through the flow of what I did or what I use. And I feel that if I keep going, I'm just going to repeat myself, and this will most fucking probably be too long and boring. So that's it. Have a great time. Create all that you can. If there's one final message I can leave you on to this moment, and every time I talk to people about music, it is to be creative, to create and create. You have a bad day, create. You have a good day, create. You have free time, create. Whatever it is, whether it's fucking drawing or playing music or training, whatever you guys want to do, use that time to create something, create a better version of yourself, a better song. And my flow is simple, and I highly encourage people to keep their flow super, super simple. It should just go on. And I know it sounds cheesy, but you hear of stories like Peter Gabriel, that takes like 5 years to build a single track, and fine for him. I'm not like that. If it doesn't work in a few minutes or an hour, just leave it, come back to it. Have a fresh mind, a fresh state. So create, and that's it. Papa.